Hello everyone, you're on SK Live. I'm your host Indraneet Basu. Today we have Mr. Dave Cameron, the former president of the West Indies Cricket Board and also one of the aspiring candidates for ICC's chairmanship. Hello sir, welcome to SK Live. How have you been?
I'm very well, Angela. Thank you very much for inviting me to your show. I've been very well, thank you, very well. And how about yourself in a
I'm right.
pandemic hit
Yeah,
region?
it's a pleasure talking to you, having you on the show.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
The world of the health of world cricket is not in good shape. So cricket starting itself, it's a good news for all of us.
Absolutely. No, sports starting itself is,
Yeah,
I'm sure we're all very big sports fans. And starting to see live sports again is just absolutely wonderful.
absolutely. And are you ready for the ICC elections? We are hearing your name very often in the media.
Well, I am. I continue to proverbially beat the pavement to try and get support. And I hope after I speak to you today, I'll be able to convince a few other people exactly why it is that you can elect me chairman and what you have to look forward to.
Absolutely. I'm sure you'll have a competition. I mean, you get a good vote, number of votes. I mean, how many are actually behind you? You must be having tremendous amount of support also.
I'm having a lot of support. I'm speaking to most parties, and Shashank will tell you that he reminded me in 2018 that he heard that I was going to run against him that time, and that's because I had support within the board, and that says a lot of things about my own confidence and what the board members would have seen in my ability to lead this organization and my ideas for transforming, growing this global game.
How did it come to your mind that you want to be in this race for the ICC chairman's post?
Well, like I said, 2 years ago, it was put in my mind by some of the board members, and I kind of forgot about it, having left West Indies cricket and, really focusing on my own business. And a couple of weeks ago, the executive director of the USA Cricket Hall of Fame reached out. We have had many conversations, and I actually did a speech, I think 2 years ago at the induction ceremony, which he had. And he said, Dave, your vision for cricket is bigger than West Indies. It's a vision for world cricket. And so maybe we should try and get you into the ICC's chair. I'm like, that's like a tall order. That is like winning the lottery. But if you believe so, I can reach back out to my contacts, speak to the board members, and see if my vision and my process still is relevant. So, hence, that's where we're at today.
One market which haven't explored, cricket hasn't explored, the US market.
Well, we have tapped it, and we've seen, the benefits. We've brought India to under my reign. I think we took India to the USA twice, and massive support. I think we took Bangladesh there as well. New Zealand would have played there a few years before, and yes, the growth in the USA market from the diaspora of all the cricketing nations is amazing. And when you look at what cricket is doing today versus an NFL, you understand what the value proposition is for the USA market. They just signed Mahomes' NFL contract, 10 years, $500 million. I don't think there are any cricketers as big as cricketers in India that's getting that kind of salary. I know Kohli is probably close to that on an annual basis, $50-60 million I've seen on an annual basis. But to sign a contract for just playing, not endorsements and all of those things, that's amazing. And that's what a market, USA, Canada, really brings to the mix of cricket. So, it's an exciting opportunity. But just to say to you in general, there's no way that you could grow cricket in America without a market like India. You need Indian businessmen, you need the cricketers to actually kickstart it. We need Asian support, so we need the Bangladeshis and Sri Lankans and stuff to really get it going in a way that makes sense.
Absolutely. And we also have one more Indian, trying vying for that top post in ICC, and he's Saurav Ganguly, and he wants to get elected unopposed.
Well, when I spoke to him, he didn't sound like he was interested in going. So that's news to me. Um, you know, Saurav Ganguly is one of my heroes. As a left-hand batsman myself, I've always admired left-hand batters. So he was one of my favorites, of course, along with my own Brian Lara. So I think, he was a fabulous cricketer. I'm not so sure, and again, it all depends on what the ICC wants. Do we want a famous cricketer to lead as a figurehead, or do we want someone that can really help to shape the game, grow the revenues, and really make this a global sport? I'm not so sure of Ganguly's track record in that sphere, whereas my track record in the West Indies, doing what we've done with the very little resources, like I said, really put a first class team back on the pitch when Test cricket has been in the doldrums for years in the West Indies, winning 4 championships, helping to create the CPL, the PCL, all of these things, buying our own facility back home on very, very little resources, would demonstrate that if given the opportunity to negotiate, discuss the way forward with the members, that we could really create something special.
Ganguly did well as an administrator for his state, West Bengal, for Cricket Association of Bengal. He was the president after former President Jagmohan Dalmia died. But we haven't seen, then he became the BCCI president last October. So we saw him, organizing the pink test, and he was quite forthright in whatever he was doing. So do you think he's sort of a heavyweight opponent for you at the ICC?
No, ma. If Ganguly is running, I'm in no shape to contest Ganguly. He would certainly bring the entire Asian block of votes. However, if he's not running, then I would hope that he would throw his support behind me. And if his support came, if as we talk about it, I just mentioned it earlier, going into new markets like the Americas would need a hero. We need a sports hero, and so Ganguly would be an absolute perfect ally to work with in growing the game. So while I would be working on looking at the business aspects of it, we would need a hero like Ganguly with his own charisma, etc., to be able to get into the meetings, get what we need to get done because of his standing. So I would hope that we could work together. But if he believes that he can do it by himself, then more power to him. But he's a fantastic cricketer, and as you said, he's done a lot of stuff in the West Bengali. I'm not particularly aware of all those things, so I wish him well if he's to contest the elections.
But he's yet to prove his worth at the highest level as an administrator, which is a very tough job, because world cricket is going through a lot of crisis, and at this crisis we need a strong leader, probably a leader as strong as Shashank Manohar, what he did, splitting cricket and taking cricket to the masses, to the world masses, which is very important. And you need a strong leader at this hour.
Yeah, no, Shashank, Shashank and I were very close and remain close. And I can't thank him enough for what he did, because coming back from the whole Big Three movement and standing up for world cricket and for us small nations, we had a little bout where he resigned in 2017, and it was really my support and understanding of the matters that really led him to coming back and finishing the job that he started. But it's been a very good run for him, and he's made a lot of changes. And if I was to be elected, I would want to continue and improve on the work that he's left there.
Yeah, and do you think the ICC members, board members, were in sync with the thought that Shashank should have continued beyond 2020, 2020?
Well, I'm not so sure what the discussions were. I wasn't party to the discussions until I saw that he had left. And when I spoke to him, he said, "Well, My tenure came to end on June 30th. And in general, if you know Shashank, he's really not about controversy. So if his tenure comes to end, then he's going to leave because he doesn't want anybody to say that he's holding on. If the board members feel that they want him to continue, then I think it's up to them to reach out to him and ask him to nominate him again to continue.
In fact, in 2017, when he resigned, you are one of the main heroes, to bring him back to ICC.
That's correct. Again, because of the relationship we had, I realized what was going on, and we negotiated the resolutions. Imran Khwaja, the now deputy chairman, and myself, he drafted all the resolutions, and so we were able to. It was huge for us. I mean, let me make it very clear. I mean, while I love Shashank to death as a chairman, but our sharing revenues went from 85 million to 130 million. And we were being very selfish at the time because I couldn't afford to have those resolutions not passed because what it would have meant for Cricket West Indies. So it was a little selfish on our part, but it really worked out because Shashank has proven invaluable to the leadership of world cricket.
Yeah, his style of working was quite simple, isn't it?
Very, very simple. Very, very simple. He made himself available to discuss matters. He and I didn't always agree, but we were very respectful of each other.
And he was also instrumental in saving IPL because there was at one point of time, every cricket board wanted to have a T20 league of their own. And Mr. Manohar said, yes, you have to, he put his foot down. IPL is something which BCCI has started and every board should support that.
No, we thoroughly support the IPL, and IPL has been very good to us. We've negotiated solidarity payments from all leagues around the world, and the IPL was the first one that agreed to the release fees. And in the first instance, we used to get 10%, and that in the last 2 years, we renegotiated and we're now getting 20%. And that goes for all the boards around the world, because simply during that time in IPL, none of the other boards play any cricket. And so you thought that was fair at the beginning to give some of the boards around the world some amount of revenues. The other boards, unfortunately, apart from Bangladesh and Pakistan, pretty much turned us down flatly and said they didn't believe in the idea of paying payments for players who from the West Indies who came and participated in the league. Again, which I thought was a little bit unfair, but that's a position taken by England and Australia and South Africa at the time. I think it's something that, again, needs discussion because what's happening in general is that as these leagues get bigger, especially now we have 100, the new tournament being proposed by the UK, that means that you're fighting against the little resources of the West Indies during that period. It means that the CPL, which plays at the same time as the 100, will be fighting to retain our best players to make the league here attractive. And so, again, as a small economy, it's not a handout. I think it's more of what's equitable in ensuring that the talent gets paid and that we can continue the development and so we can be competitive like we are in England today. I mean, it's just really saying that how do we ensure that the landscape remains competitive? Because with competitive teams it drives value of the event. And so if we're thinking that, and that is why the NFL is so valuable, that's why the NBA is so valuable, because they find ways of ensuring that every team has an opportunity to win the league every year. And that is what drives value in sports.
Lovely. And what are the challenges that would be there in front of the new ICC chairman, according to you?
The challenges are many because every geography, every country has its own views on the world. And so the opportunity is there to convince, to discuss the way forward that will benefit all. And not all in the same way. And I use the word equity and not equal, because I make the point that while the West Indies has 6 billion people, India has 1.3 billion. And so the resources to help the West Indies is much less than what would be required to maintain the 53 stadia, 54 stadia that India has and all its contestant players. So I'm not talking about equal revenues. I'm talking about equity, something that gets everybody being able to compete, to retain its players, and to improve the product on and off the field. Those are the biggest discussions. But also, how do we grow the sport in non-traditional places? China, USA, the Americas, Argentina, Brazil. Is there a discussion around the type of which wicket pitches that we use so that, I mean, cricket is the most expensive sport that I know to put on. And so if we're going to grow the sport, resources are always a challenge. What are the key things in order to get the cost down and to be able to allow more persons to participate in this great game?